Welcome to 40 Below Zero, an international podcast about life with invisible illnesses, hosted by two guys living with multiple sclerosis. Coming to you from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania, I'm your co-host Nix, and with me on this ride is Terry, a Londoner who calls Ontario home. We're so happy you're here with us as we continue to try and normalize a life that is anything but. So let's get into it. What's up, Warriors? Welcome back to the show. Terry, we got a special one today.
Yeah, we do, for
You've been
sure.
good?
Yeah, how you doing? You okay?
Better than the weather finally went down. I got notified by my internet provider that my internet might be a little wonky because of the devastation. So I'm close enough to maybe be by that. We'll see how it goes.
Funny, because as you're saying that, the internet connection is choppy. So,
Yeah, that's why I got to mention it.
yeah. It's funny how you were fine. Everything was fine, and all of a sudden it just started just now. But you're good
That's
now.
that's the way it
So,
goes. All right, who do we have with us this week?
so yeah, man, I'm really honored to introduce to you. I'm gonna say Dr. Lowery, okay? Because you are a doctor. So I hate anyway, let's just continue. Dr. Lowery D. Lockhart. Lockhart? Lockhart?
Lockard, Lockard,
Lockhart.
yes.
She's the founder. You're the mastermind behind Miss Wheelchair USA. Dude, she's dedicated to empowering women with disabilities through entertainment and advocacy. And dude, I have so much I keep saying dude, excuse my language. I have so much respect for you. Since 1997, this has been founded. And I'm upset because I'm now starting to hear about it.
It's a little frustrating. It's hard to think about 28-ish years of doing something and then people say, "Oh, I never heard of that before." It's like, how is that possible? But it really is. It's frustrating. You hear about Miss America, you hear about Miss USA and Miss Universe and all those programs, which I'm very grateful for because I wouldn't be doing what I was doing had I not had the Miss America program. So that's kind of where all this really started. But that being said, these ladies are amazing. And not only are they amazing women, but they overcome so many different challenges to even get up in the morning, let alone compete, travel across the country, be in a pageant, get up on stage, all of those kinds of things. And, people kind of, there he is, told you it was going to happen. Howling hound dog. Um, not only is they're just amazing women, and you should be able to put that out there with ease and grace, and people would be excited about it. And a lot of times people go, "What?" Like, "What? You're doing what? They do what?" It's like, yeah, just like anybody else. We don't have swimsuit, we don't have talent competitions in our program, but aside from that, um, they're they're doing it. And I think we're a little bit stricter probably than a lot of programs too. So
Yeah, that was the question that came up. It's like your organization for about 5 or 6 years, but I didn't really have any direct contact with it. Like when we have the mutual friend with Dr. Wagner, he's a huge promoter of it. So that's when I really dove into it. So how does one even get involved with that?
the ladies can get involved just by reaching out to us and asking for an application kit. It's that simple.
Oh,
And we're really pretty easy to find on any social media or website. Our phone numbers are everywhere. People don't really use the phone anymore, though, I guess. So I guess internet and social media is the way to go. But we email the ladies an application kit, and they fill it out, send it in. Our state and regional competitions are judged virtually. So we don't have a pageant in every state. We tried that a few years ago, and it just diversified our group of volunteers so much and took so much time away from preparing for a national competition that it just didn't work out. And it took time away from the ladies and funds away from the ladies that they could use to get ready for the national competition. So the state and regional programs are virtual. They fill out the kit, they send it in, they have to do a video, they have a marketing statement, a platform statement, etc., that they present. Those are judged, and if they meet the criteria that we have set at the judging level, then they're selected to represent that state or region. Then they spend the
oh,
time from the time they win that state or regional title to July is when we have our national competition. And so they have that time period to get ready and communicate with us and make appearances and prepare and spread their platforms. It's a national platform for ladies, even at the state and regional level. Some of them take amazing advantage of that. And we hope that is why they're participating, really, is to talk about their stories and to help other people, not only those with disabilities, the caregivers, just people in general. Not everybody has a disability platform. But I think that's a deterrent for a lot of people too. They go, oh, well, I don't really know anybody with a disability, or, I don't know anybody in a chair or whatever. So I don't really think I'd be interested in that. And I'll tell you a quick story. A couple years ago, we've been doing this a long time, and people are like, "Why do you keep doing it?" And it's like, well, every year there's one. There's always one. Sometimes there's more than one, but there's always at least one story. And a few years ago was um, an especially challenging year. There was a lot of women with disabilities are no different than any other women competing. They're still women. It's still a
Mhm.
competition. People want to win. They spend a lot of time preparing. And so we, that particular year, had 5 ladies that were in it to win it, and they weren't messing around. So it wasn't particularly all leaven and sponge that year.
Mhm.
It was competition. I mean, just like anything else. Nobody was being mean or like tearing up anybody's clothes or anything like that. But the atmosphere is different when people are there to win. And so it had just been a challenging year. The day of the show on Friday, my system crashed. We lost the script. We lost the teleprompters. We lost everything. So literally, I'm typing, like an hour before the show, trying to put together at least an outline for. Thank God I have the people I do on stage, like Truett and Brooke Taylor and Jeremy Parsons. I mean, they've got it going on. So we're very fortunate there. But it was one of those years, and I'm like, why am I doing this? This is insane. And we it was crazy. So this young man came in, and he looks like Denzel Washington. He's absolutely beautiful in a chair, big smile, big personality, just comes rolling in. And we're like, okay, who does he belong to? Because we hadn't seen him before. And he came to see the pretty girls in the pageant. And it was like, and he made
That's
zero
cool.
bones about that was why he was
Wow.
there, had picked out his
Nice.
favorite, had been, he
Yeah.
knew what he was doing, but somebody had mentioned to him that there was this pageant for ladies with disabilities, and he came. He was 19, just graduated from high school. So he comes into the show. He's kind of sitting down, in the audience from where our front of house booth was. And I just out of the corner of my eye happened to catch him, and he was sobbing. And I'm like, what in the hell? And I said to my assistant sitting next to me, and I said, yeah, go find out what's wrong with him. Like, what happened? Who do I have to apologize to now? What, somebody said something, he couldn't get somewhere he needed to be. I don't know what's going on. It just was that kind of year. So Ted goes over, he comes back, he's like, don't worry about it, I'll tell you later. I'm like, is he all right? Like, what? He's like, don't worry about it, I'll tell you later. So of course, show goes on, we do our thing. So by Sunday, I'm like, yep, everybody go home, we're out, I'm done. We have a Sunday morning brunch, and we kind of all are dragging ourselves in there by then, because we've been at it at that point almost for 3 weeks.
Sure.
Because people don't realize when you do a show like that, you're in production for almost 2 weeks prior to, and then the whole week of the event. So it's a big process. And so anyway, we drag in Sunday morning. Everybody's got their coffee, and they're just kind of like sitting there going, okay, bye, go home. Ted comes in and he says, do you want to know what was wrong with Fabian? And I said, yeah, because I need to make that phone call today. And he says, well, he came to the show to see the pretty girls. He was bound and determined he was leaving with a date, which I don't really know if he did or not. I should ask him that question. But he had never been told in his entire life that he could do anything. It was always everything that he could not do. You won't go to college. You'll never drive. No girl's going to marry you. You're never going to be a dad. You're never going to have a family. You're never going to have a career. Just be used to, expect to live in a group home, expect to do this, expect to do that. And he came to this pageant at 19 years old and watched these ladies who were moms. That one particular year, we had a lady with a doctorate. We had a grandma that was in the show. I mean, we had this big spectrum of different kinds of women and stories. And it was the first time in his life he had ever been told or seen that he could do something other than
Wow.
be a guy with a disability.
Wow.
So of course, we all burst into tears and we're like, okay, fine, I guess we'll do it again. And that was like 7 or 8 years ago. And he comes every couple of years and hangs out and sees us. And he didn't come this year. He was on vacation somewhere. He drives himself. He had a girlfriend. He was
Wow.
going to school. Like, I mean, so those are the kinds of things that, when I say there's one, that's one. I mean, we have lots that have to do with the ladies and their families and, their stories and just, some of them have never been outside of their hometowns, let alone to travel across the country to Ohio. So, but the Fabian story, I think, is especially close to me because that was really one of the first times I went, I'm done.
Yeah.
And
It just takes one,
it
to keep the
takes one.
fire going. Yeah.
It takes
Wow.
one. And
And that,
for it to have been this young man who I was like, who does he belong to? I mean, he was
right.
adorable. And it's like, hey, why is he by himself? Like there's, too young for me, unfortunately, but totally adorable. Um, but
Who is this Denzel guy?
yeah, right. I mean,
What's his name?
just honest,
Fabian? You said Fabian?
just beautiful. I mean, big white smile, big teeth, big
Yeah.
like movie star looking.
Wow.
And to even think that somebody had told this kid, you can't just go be in a group home somewhere,
Wow.
is
But
just not
that's
okay.
that's
So
wild. But that's how we get that's how it starts.
it is.
That's you
It
you
is.
know, when you first get diagnosed, that you spend the first 18 months of your life hearing this is what you can't do, you
But you
shouldn't do.
can't do.
It
Right.
that's and it's like, oh, there's got to be a better way to do it.
Sure. Well, when my mom became paralyzed, that was, they uh, told it was months in the hospital, of course, and it was never a, well, this is the things you need to do to prepare, or these are the kind of things that you're going to have to change, or blah blah blah. It was always, well, you won't be able to do this. And thank God you just retired because you won't be able to work and you won't do this. And you really should put your mom in a home. And it's like,
Hmm.
what are you talking about? And when
That's
I
my
was
fear.
told that, I was like, did I miss something? Because I understand that she has a spinal cord injury, but did something else happen that I missed? They're like, do you not get that she's paralyzed? I'm like, there was almost a rumble in the hallway at the hospital that day, because this neurologist was dead serious and really not nice about the fact that I was arguing that that was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard. And, he's like, I'm trying to do you a favor here. You don't want to have to do this the rest of your life. And I'm like, excuse me, what are
Wow.
you saying to me?
So,
And, I had been in the disability field for years at that point. Um, and so when this all happened, I was like, that is the least of my concerns. It's the health things that, you just
Right.
don't know what to do with. But yeah, it was always a negative response, always the worst case scenario. And I understand they need to share that information, but on the same token, that's not where you need to live in your mindset. And not for that individual and not for the caregivers or the family members, because it's already tumultuous. It's already devastating. It's already a whole life change for everyone. And it doesn't have to be this negative, horrible life. It doesn't. Is it easy? No, of course not. Nobody's
Mm,
life is easy.
no.
It's not. But yeah, that's
I'm
that's always the thing.
I'm thinking the reason why, first of all, Dr. Wagner is in the waiting room, so I'm going to let him in
Oh,
shortly.
hi.
But I'm thinking the reason why I haven't heard of Miss Wheelchair USA is, and I hate to shame myself, but maybe because I was never in a chair 7 years ago. So maybe if I was in a chair
Maybe.
7 years ago, I would have been more, more aware of what's going on there.
Maybe. And that is
Maybe.
one of the things that's one of our struggles is that, again, like I said, people go, oh, well, I don't need to do that, or I don't need to go to that, or I don't need to see that. I don't know anybody with a disability, or, I don't have any reason to be interested in that.
Right.
And, people, excuse me, some people aren't interested in Miss America either. And, of course, it all comes with those stereotypes that, you're all a bunch of
Mhm, mhm.
crazy people. But
Yeah.
speaking of crazy people,
Good segue.
that was a good intro right there.
Hey, talking about that, when is there a Mr. or what is it? Yeah,
Right?
Mr.
I know. Somebody actually said that to me a few years ago, and we talked about it. And there's just so many things. It's like so big. It took me this year was our first year for Miss Teen Wheelchair USA. And I looked through my notes. I know I've talked about it for a long time, and I found in my notes when we were actually doing some things at the office that my original notes about adding a teen program were from 2014.
Whoa.
So it took 10 years for me to do that. And actually, this particular year, I just did it. I got up one morning and went, yeah, we're doing this. And I
Nice.
put it online. I didn't say anything. I just did it. And my phone was ringing off the hook. One of our head judge from Los Angeles called me. He said, have you lost your mind? And I said, what? And he goes, what are you thinking? How are you going to add something? We have so many other things. And about 20 minutes later, one of our chaperone coordinators called and she's like, have you lost your mind? It was like all day long. I said, well, apparently I have because it's out there and we're doing it. So, and I'm
Nice.
so grateful that we did.
Dude, Miss Wheelchair USA, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And how long
Wow.
has Dr. Wagner been involved in
Let's
that?
see,
No.
2015 or 16, maybe.
And
Um,
I never
I,
knew, but he's the one that runs the red carpet, the interviews.
re- well,
No,
I'm not,
no, no, I don't run anything.
I
Welcome back
don't
to the
run
show,
anything.
Dr. Wagner. How are you?
I want to say
I'm good, Nick.
2016, maybe. You
Okay.
interviewed me because one of
Yes.
our contestants was on Truett's show. And so then shortly thereafter, he asked me to be on his show. And we just hit it off. And I suckered him into coming and judging that year. And or the next year. And he was like, this is the coolest thing ever. So then the following year I went, hey, so I always wanted to do this red carpet thing. I don't know why we don't have a red carpet. Everybody else has a red carpet. Everybody else has a pre-show. They have a backstage thing. This is really cool. We should do this. And how about you and Phaedra? And he was like, okay. So that's been what, 4 years, maybe 5 that we've been doing that.
The red carpet, I'm trying to go over, I think it has been maybe 4.
4 years. Yeah.
And last year, we met 5 years ago, Lowery.
Is that all?
Yes.
Seems like so much longer than that.
It might have been, yeah, it might have been,
In a good way.
yeah, it might have been, well, the show aired 5 years ago.
Okay.
So when we met, it could have been before that. But I
Earlier.
think
Yeah.
that myself and Phaedra, maybe Phaedra and myself, the team that is kind of like the team that is the team, the solidified team. I think Phaedra and I have been doing it 4 years. And it is last year I think was an amazing year. I mean, the red carpet was unreal. It everything just kind of finally came together, and it was really good. So yeah. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to pop on. I did tell Terry that I would possibly do the introductions. Of course, I don't need to because you guys are already talking. And
Where are you? What's going on? No, but I'm just curious. Has it been televised? Has it in 1997? Was it televised or
Actually, it was.
okay?
Actually, we were
Okay.
live. That was when Time Warner Cable was our big provider, and we were live on TV and have lots of stories about that.
I can
And
imagine.
uh, we actually, at that point, were building everything from scratch. We were covering walls in a gym and building a stage with big ramps and platforms, and because there just
Cool.
wasn't anything that was accessible. When I decided to do a national program, I wanted to go to Nashville, Worse Than Life Itself, went to the Grand Ole Opry. They were all excited. It wasn't accessible. The only accessible restroom at that time was in the lobby. And I thought, well, I can't have, 20, 30 girls in wheelchairs running to the lobby to go to the restroom. And then we got into the back part, and none of all the dressing rooms had stairs and things. So none of that would work. Now it's a little
Wow.
bit different. And actually we've taken the ladies there a few times, but yeah, it started in a very different scenario. And we had live TV. They were really excited about it. And yeah, the world has changed a lot now. So of course we don't do television necessarily. We do streaming, but
Mhm.
we're still waiting for ABC or CBS to pay attention here because it's a big
You were involved with Miss USA
Miss
itself,
America.
Miss
Miss America.
America. Wow, you were
Yeah.
involved. I heard that from Dr. Wagner.
I
Hey,
I was a contestant 100 years ago, and actually paid for most of my college education by being a contestant in the Miss America program.
Wow.
I believe it.
So
Yeah, for sure.
thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I had that pageant background. I got to go on a USO tour, lived on a ship with a bunch of British sailors for 3 weeks, which was awesome. Did all kinds of really cool things. It's a little weird to be one of the only females on a ship like that, but
I can imagine.
it was awesome. It was a great experience. Very respectful sailors, by the way. Probably would have hung them up or thrown them off the board if they wouldn't have been, but um, it was a wonderful experience for me. And it's a competition. I mean, people
Mhm.
act like it's no joke. I mean, when you go to do it, and I went to win, and I went to make money for school. I went to sing and be get those steps, use it as a stepping stone.
Mhm.
And so those things all worked for me. And when I had an opportunity to do a pageant for people with this for women with disabilities, the fact that that door even opened was just a fluke as it was. And the year that that happened, Heather Whitestone was Miss America, and she was the
Ooh.
first Miss Deaf Miss America, and that was a big
Yep,
deal.
I remember
And
that.
yeah, we were running I worked for the county board of mental retardation and developmental disabilities at the time. And I had just been brought in to do marketing. They had hired an outsider to do
Yeah.
marketing and TV because I didn't come from that background. Obviously, I at that time I had no one in my family with a disability. I went to school with kids with disabilities that were, kept in the back room behind the gym, and that was I had zero background. But that was kind of what they were looking for. It was the time when people were being transferred out of institutions and really into the communities for jobs and group homes. So it was really tumultuous, and people didn't understand, and they were afraid, and all of that craziness was going on. Not that it doesn't go on now, because it still does, but to the level of that. And just very fortunate, Dr. Norm Shubai was the superintendent at the time. And he said to me, "What can we do? We clearly can't keep talking about people with disabilities the way that we do." And up to that point, they're a levy funded program, so they receive a lot of their money from tax dollars. They had a school for kids with disabilities that was called Weaver School. So, for me growing up, all the kids that went there were the Weavers. That's what we called them. It wasn't
Mm.
disrespectful. That's just what you called them. We were the Bulldogs, they were the Weavers. Like, that was how it went. So you did it, but they were very separated. And that's how they had existed for years. And when all of this integration started, um, they didn't know how to talk because it was no longer these kids at this special school and the poor kids in the little yellow bus. Like, they had a special bus, and like, so everything was special. And so when they tried to present that particular year, the levy failed, and it had never failed in,
Ooh.
I don't know, 30 or 40 years that they had existed. And so one of the things that people said was, why would we pay tax dollars to keep this when you're telling us that folks should be here? And so it was a real conundrum for them, because they had never thought of people with disabilities that way, even as the service provider. So they hired the pageant girl to come in and stir things up, which I did. And I was very, very grateful. I was very fortunate to have somebody like Dr. Shubai, who pretty much said, "All right, go ahead, try it."
Well,
And fortunately, knock on a whole lot of wood, we had very few failures. I don't think we really had any failures. We had things that didn't go as big as I had hoped. But Miss Wheelchair Ohio was one of those things. And we were talking about ladies that particular day in a meeting, and he and I got to talking, and somebody said something about the pageant, and we looked at each other, and it was like, hmm. And he went, "Do you think?" Like, we never even said the words. It was just like, "Do you think?" And I'm like, "Would you let me?" And I was like, "Yeah." So we did it. And of course, even people at the agency looked at us like we had three heads, and they're like, "I don't know about this. I just, is it a good idea? People are going to think that you're, putting them on display."
Yeah.
Which is what they say about ladies in Miss America. It was my choice to compete. It was my choice to wear a swimsuit. I wouldn't have if they would have given me that choice, but that was part of the gig. You
Right.
know, it was that was part of the competition, just like the Olympics. You have to do certain things, you get drug tested, you do those things. It's not any different. You're making a choice, you work really hard, and these ladies do the same. And so people thought we were crazy. And the first year, it was just such a big success. The ladies, because people never heard their stories, they
Right.
never had a platform like that.
Yeah.
And of course, because I am a Miss America person, I wanted my show to be bigger and better than Miss America, which I believe it is. Even and a couple years ago, I haven't been involved for a few years, and I watched the show, and I was like, yes, our show is better than Miss America. It really is. And I'm not just bragging either. I mean, a lot of people work really hard to make that happen.
You
Um,
started a lot of programs from Miss Wheelchair USA, like the Dane Foundation.
yeah,
There's other things too. I don't want to say the wrong title, but you have Big Brother and Sister. What is it? I'm
little
gonna.
brothers and sisters.
Is
Yeah.
that
So
okay?
we have little kids, little boys, little girls,
Yeah.
from age 5 and up that participate throughout the week with the contestants, and they're part of the show. This year we did a fashion show for the first time, fashionability, focusing on adaptive clothing and talking about fashion for individuals with disabilities. The kids got to model in the fashion show, so that was awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of things that really have sprung from that first Miss Wheelchair, Ohio in the gym that we, built this theater out of. And so I
What
think,
about the Crowns for Christ?
yes, we have a lot of ladies. We've done one tour with Crowns for Christ, a lot of ladies that are very faithful and talk about their testimonies and share their stories and how their faith has changed their lives and gotten them through what they've gotten through. And so we have that program that runs. We would love that to look like a Women of Faith conference someday. Big, thousands of people coming to hear stories of faith and success and grace and goodness. And I think the world needs a lot of that right now. So,
You ain't kidding. You're absolutely right. And you know, to your point, the friendship that you and Dr. Wagner have had for only 5 years, you know, in context, that was a long 5 years for everybody. So I can see why it would feel like you've known him for a while
yeah,
because, we're talking 2019 was five
right.
years. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and you know what? That's true too, because COVID, we did not do the pageant in 2020. We did a virtual Miss Wheelchair USA, which we called Retrofit, which was the coolest thing ever. But yeah, you were part of that, right? So that was
That was the year after
you
my
judged,
first year.
right?
So
So
I had the first year, we went out, I was a judge, and myself, Matthew, and Jeremy, it was almost like the three of us. Now we've lingered
the three
and
amigos.
we holding on. And then the second year, Jeremy Parsons was part of the interview with the virtual, and myself and Matthew, and I think the ice skater, she was there with our group that got interviewed. I'm talking about Matthew.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who was on the show.
Yeah, but Jeremy interviewed three of us, and it was me and Matt, and the other was the ice skater. I can't remember. Um, and then the next year, we all came back again. So it was that way. But guys, listen, you guys are having a fascinating conversation. As you can see, I've got all of my everything behind me. I'm not at home. You don't see any animals or crawling all over me. But whether you all realize it or not, I found this. You all have actually been together before, as you can see in the picture. You see Miss Wheelchair USA and 4T below. So
You're
I
There
awesome.
you
brought the
go.
worlds together.
I noticed that.
You're
So
awesome.
having said that, I'm gonna dash. Love all of you, you great people, and I cannot wait to see you again, all of you, very, very soon. I'll be in
For
touch.
sure.
Take care.
We'll
Take
be in
Talk
care.
to you soon. Talk to you soon.
What a great guy.
He is a great guy. He had no idea what he was getting himself into when he agreed to judge. He came and judged, and he was talking about Matthew Hunt, who's a producer and author. And I he tells everybody I harassed him on the red carpet in Los Angeles, which I did not, but
He
I did
talks
meet
highly of you.
him there at a movie premiere, and
Yeah.
we got to talking and had breakfast the next morning, and he was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard of. And so he came and judged with Truett that year. And Jeremy Parsons is actually a red carpet guy. That's what he does for People TV. And he hosted the People magazine TV show. You see him a lot on the Today Show and Good Morning America. And he's doing a lot on KTLA in LA, talking about he's like the Hollywood guy, you know. He does all the pre-shows at the Grammys and the CMAs and all that kind of stuff. He's the coolest dude ever, by the
I've
way.
seen a lot of pictures of him. I've
Oh
seen
yeah, he's first of all, he's
Yeah.
beautiful, but he and very good at what he does, but just what a good person. Like, you know, that's the thing. It's like he has such a good heart, and you don't think that about a lot of people that live in this world. You know, you think you see all the glamour and the money and the drugs and all the bad stuff,
Right.
but you know, there really are good people in this kind of business, and he's one of those. And so they judged that year. The following year, we did the retrofit because it was virtual. And I called Jeremy and said, I just don't feel right not doing something. We've had ladies with titles all year. They've worked really hard, and now they're not going to get to do this. We obviously allowed them to come the next year when we were back on stage, but it's like, you know, you work really hard and then you think you're doing something in July, and it kind of all fell apart. And so I decided that there had to be a way we could do this with Zoom, and we did. And it was, I think, one of the
nice.
best things that we did, because we did individual interviews with the ladies and the judges and volunteers and folks that were involved that you wouldn't normally see. So it worked out great. But yeah, the three of them, the three amigos, we all got in trouble after the show and talked a lot and drank a little, and I convinced them that they were going to come back, and they have every year. So
So
That's
this,
fantastic.
like, we've already talked about some of the programs, but there's a lot more, right?
oh
There
yeah,
is the Wheelchair USA Ambassador Program.
there is. We have ladies that if they compete twice at the national level, they are allowed to compete again. They still have to go through the state regional process. If they go through that process and are selected again, they come back to the national competition, and they place in the top 5 or the top 3, whatever the top finalists are that we have. They're eligible for that program. So we have 4 ladies right now that serve on a regional basis as ambassadors. One, Diana Warren, was my 3rd Miss Wheelchair Ohio. So she's been around a long time. And her and her family have really made Miss Wheelchair USA and the Dame Foundation part of their family and part of their lives for almost 30 years. So she is one of our ambassadors. She's here in Ohio. Excuse me. And Michelle Miller is in Alabama. Ashley Lawrence is in South Carolina, and Sarah Tompkins is in Washington State. So we have ladies that
We
continue to
have
serve.
something in common because we're ambassadors for the MS Society.
Oh, there you
So
go.
Yeah.
There you go. So you guys do like you'll go to events and talk about the society, or yeah, okay, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
What we found was, because it's the difference, the one of the differences with like a Miss America or Miss USA, we can't afford to pay them $250,000 for a year of service. I would love to be able to do that. That doesn't happen. Um, but they do still do all of these appearances as we can throughout the country. Some of the ladies, you know, health issues, obviously traveling with a disability is a challenge. And sometimes they just can't make it to all the things that we would like them to do, or that people would request them to be at. So um, starting that ambassador program, because it just, again, it was one of those things that happened that Miss Wheelchair USA couldn't do something. And I called Diana and said, hey, can you fill in for this? You know, you're still or Miss Ohio. Could you do this? Because they want to know about what we do, and somebody needs to be there besides me. And so she was just doing that. And I'm like, this needs to be an official thing. This is crazy. She's doing all of these things. And then found that there were other ladies that kind of had the same opportunity to be able to support what we do, support the title holder, and spread the word as much as we can. So yeah, the ambassador program is a cool thing. We started the fashionability this year, which was awesome. I guess I did hit my head because I just started doing all kinds of crazy things this year.
Just started
Um,
adding.
yeah, I know. It just
what about the budding wheelchair international competition?
Yes.
Uh,
Um,
is that what
that was a
countries?
COVID thing. That
Okay,
was a COVID
okay.
thing. I started that, and we had we have actually had two Miss Wheelchair Internationals,
Mhm,
and our current title holder, Phaedra Creed, was our Miss Wheelchair Ohio in 2000, or Miss Wheelchair USA in 2010.
mhm.
And she's our current international representative. She's been to Dubai and Saudi Arabia and some of those folks' places. So she's been spreading the word. We originally had it all set up to start an international program and had ladies from all over the world that were interested in participating. And COVID hit, and that was the end of that. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
we really haven't quite recovered from that yet. So the good news is that Phaedra has been able to do some international travel, and really brought back some amazing and interesting things, about how the world looks at people with different disabilities differently than we do in the United States.
Hmm.
One of the things that everybody kind of hangs on to, that I believe it was Dubai. Everything is, they are people of determination, not people with disabilities. So
Oh, wow.
transportation is, for people of determination. Accessibility is for people of determination. So it's like, it gives me goosebumps to say it, because it's
I,
like, why don't we see that here?
yeah, I like
Why do
that.
we have to fight that battle? But they don't there. And there are other
Mm.
things that are different, certainly in their culture, but um, that recognition that there is determination, that there is opportunity, that there is success, that they do recognize that. And I don't say that we don't in the United States, we do,
But
but sometimes it's a challenge, and
uh,
it's certainly not, most of the time, that's not somebody's first thought, unfortunately.
can I just read something that I saw that you wrote? I
Sure.
don't know if you exactly wrote it, but I liked it too. First of all, some subscribe to the theory. I don't know if you know what I'm going to say. Some subscribe to the theory that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But according to Miss Wheelchair USA organization, beauty is found amongst women with disabilities that have overcome unforeseen obstacles, yet continue to offer help, encouragement, and understanding. Touche.
Yeah,
Well
that
said.
that's it. That
Yeah.
is it. And it's interesting, even today, people go, "Oh, we don't need stuff like that." People get it. No, they don't.
No,
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 they
they
really
don't.
don't.
Yeah.
And I've had many people say, um, the reason we became what we became was a lady in a chair, as a matter of fact, said to me, "You can't have a photogenic competition. Don't you know these ladies have disabilities and they're in chairs?"
Yeah.
And I sat back, and she was like, "You don't understand, because you're not in a chair." So, well, you're right. I'm not in a chair. You are right. And
Uh,
I've taken a lot of hits for that. People are like, "Oh, you don't have a disability. You shouldn't be doing this," those kind of things. And it's like, well, I welcome anyone to do these kinds of things. I mean, if there were more pageants for people with disabilities, there would be more contestants for everybody. Like, it's not that, we should have um the only program. There are other things for ladies with disabilities, not like what we do, but it's certainly, there should be. And
right.
this lady said that to me, and I was dumbfounded, because she did have a disability. And I said, "Wait a minute. So what you're saying to me is, because these ladies have disabilities, they're not beautiful, like they're not glamorous, they're women. Like, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to feel good about themselves, whatever that means to you. It doesn't have to mean big hair and makeup and fancy dresses. It can mean, t-shirts and jeans. If that makes you feel beautiful and that makes you feel good about yourself, why is that any
Wonderful.
different if you're in a chair? Like, I don't understand that."
Right.
And she and I had quite the
So true.
conversation that day.
I bet. She
And
got the education, I'm sure.
yeah, and again, this was a lady in a chair. And
Wow.
that was kind of the auspices for me to say, "Wait a minute, we need to do this differently. We need to do this bigger. We need to do this. We need to speak louder." Because if someone in a chair would say that to me, what about people who don't know anybody with a disability? What about people who have no idea? They've never been around. They have no concept. Is that what they think? Like, that's just so incredibly wrong,
Yeah.
and we need to fix it.
This
So,
is why you're so appreciated in the disability world because you're awareness, awareness, awareness. This is what we want, and what you're doing is really helping us out. And by the way, I did snoop through your LinkedIn account, and boy, does your education speak volumes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Yes, I worked really hard. We were just having a conversation the other day. When I got my bachelor's degree, I entered Kent State University as a theater major. I was a singer. That's what I wanted to do. I was there for a semester in the theater program and went, yep, theater is not me. And changed. Then I was a journalism major, and then kind of found my way to it was called telecommunications at the time. It's the mass communications department now. Um, Found my way to that department, and the I was very fortunate. The people that I had were very encouraging of what I was doing, and being the Miss America freak that people know about. It was Kent State has a lot of people, but that was kind of a thing that I was doing that. And so I was fortunate that I had professors that were in television that actually worked in TV. I had a professor that was a speaking teacher for public speaking, that her name was Miss Easton, and she was actually a consultant for banks, and
okay.
really was the person who taught me how to speak in public and how to put together presentations and how to do those things. And then I had these folks in the TV program that were like, you need to be a news anchor. That's what you should do. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do. I graduated from college and went to my first job was at WKDD radio. And if you've ever been in a radio business, the newbies that come in, you get the jobs like being the assistant to the morning jock that does all the bar stuff.
Mm,
That was my first job. I quit pretty quickly.
no doubt. No doubt.
Dragging the dude out of the bar was not my gig. I did it for a while. But again, it was a learning experience. And I left WKDD to work at the county. And they
Okay.
hired me again because I had no background in disability service, and they wanted somebody that could do the public piece and had a
Mm,
media background and could write commercials and do those kinds of things. And so it was definitely not the path I thought my life would take, but it certainly did. And the whole time I was at the county, they were like, you need to go back to school. You should teach. You should this. You should that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I love what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I love producing. I love writing. I love, doing the interviews and doing this kind of stuff, promoting what we do. So I don't need to go back to school. And
I got a question for you.
sure.
By the way, since you work to empower women with disabilities through entertainment, are you aware? And you probably won't be because it's a Canadian show, but there's a show on CBC documentary. It's a documentary series called Push, and it's a bunch of is this rude? A bunch of people in wheelchairs, and they're spreading awareness, and it's a show all about what people with spinal injury. Anyway, I don't know if you've
No,
heard of it.
that's
It's
cool.
pretty
No, I
cool.
don't
Yeah.
know about
So
that.
yeah.
That's
yeah.
We're
awesome.
had a few of those folks on there, and there's also a bit of a counterpart that we've spoken to once on this show. She runs a show in Canada called Fashion Dis, so
Mm.
it's all about the fashion industry for people with different disabilities and mobility aids and stuff. It's all about high fashion. So
That's awesome.
That'd be really cool if you collaborated with
I was
her.
like, she needs to be one of my new best friends
Yeah.
because
we
Oh,
could,
that's a challenge, boy. I'll tell you.
oh,
I
yeah,
had
she
no
has a
concept.
podcast on her own, and it's a
yep,
pretty big podcast happening in Canada as well. So
That's
it's called
awesome.
Tripping on Air. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, well, I'm sure I'll send you her link through
Please
Instagram.
do. Yeah, because that
Yeah.
would be
yeah.
great. I'm not that far from
Cool.
Canada, by the way.
No, he's
About four
he's
and a half
uh
hours.
Nick's in the States, by the way.
Yep.
I'm
Oh, are
Canadian.
you?
He's in the
Oh,
States.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's your
Southeast Delaware
people.
County. My people.
Take your people.
So how does somebody either with or not with a disability get involved with your organization? If they're like, this is something I can get behind, how do they take that first step?
Hey, just reach out anyway. Social media, DM us, text us,
Okay.
email, any of those kind of things. Obviously contestants, we send you out a kit and that helps you get started. Volunteers, everybody volunteers. We are very few things that people that are paid to do what they do. But there's expenses nonetheless. So We're always looking for folks to volunteer. We're always looking for sponsors. That's our biggest challenge.
Of course.
Just like anybody else, you know, that's our challenge to have the funding to be able to do that, what we do. Because again, we're different. We're a different beast. And so you
Yep.
don't fit under that funding umbrella for a lot of people. But certainly the media and, you know, I think we've really been instrumental in having our ladies be the LeBron James of Nike. I tell them that all the time. You know, somebody wants you to wear their shoes, you don't have to wear them for free. They wouldn't ask LeBron to wear them for free. He wouldn't
Very
wear them
true.
for free. Why should you?
Who's
And
LeBron James? Just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
hey, he's from Akron, right? So yeah, but you know, they don't that's a whole different concept for folks with disabilities to have the confidence and feel that they can demand those things like anyone else would.
Yeah.
And so we're really trying to work those kinds of things. So we do a lot of advocacy, and I don't like to use that word because people go, "Oh no," you know,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of things. I try to focus on the things that nobody else is already doing, and you know, getting people with disabilities and ladies especially out into that entertainment world and out in the stage and allowing them to feel confident and comfortable enough to say, hey, you know, you would pay this person, you know,
Mhm.
to do a speech here. You need to pay me. And so, you know, it's a work in progress.
Can I, before we end here, can I congratulate Rianne
Oh,
for
Rand. Oh, she's amazing.
not
Yes.
only winning
Mhm.
the national title, but she was also voted Miss, I never can say this word, Miss Congeniality.
Oh, you did. Very good. Yes. Yes.
Nice.
And that's and you know, the movie thing, you know, people kind of make a joke about that, but you know, that's chosen by the contestants. And again, these ladies work really hard and it's
Yeah.
not cheap. It's not free to make this happen. You know, I wish there was a day that we wouldn't have to charge an entry fee and we could travel everybody here and they could come for free. That's not how it works. You have to be able to
Mhm.
raise money. You have to be able to fundraise, you have to be able to do sponsorships, you have to do those things. And unless you're independently wealthy, which I don't know too many people that way. So, you know, that doesn't usually happen. And so they have to know how to do those things and they come here to win. So when your counterparts and your peers vote you um, into that situation, into that title, and you win the pageant, that says a lot
It
about
does.
her and her character. And certainly, you know, she's got a master's degree also. She works for
Did,
Vanderbilt University.
I
You
didn't
know,
even
I mean,
mention that she received the Dr. Georgie Hudson Smith
mhm.
Quest for Knowledge Award. Dude, how many different programs are there? I can't even
We
keep
have
track.
about 15 ancillary awards that are different things
Holy.
that we recognize people for, and that's one of them. Dr. Georgie Hudson Smith has been volunteering. She was actually on my staff at the county and has been volunteering and coming, takes her vacation week to be part of the pageant now for 26 years. She's been doing this with us. So
Wow.
she got her doctorate a few years before I did. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And education was always something that I felt very strongly about. And so did she, obviously. And so I asked her again, she's been committed to our program for almost 30 years as well. And I said, hey, you know, we want to recognize that. How can we do that? And I just really, it was one of those other things that I went, okay, I'm going to do this. And she was just so thrilled and honored. And so that is something that Rayanne won this year. So she was sweeping the floor this year with a lot of things. She's an amazing lady. We're very
Well,
fortunate.
Maybe you can convince her to come on our show.
Oh, I could probably do something about that. Yeah.
I'm joking.
congratulations to her. And that's what it takes. It takes committed volunteers who just say, "Yep, I want to get involved."
Yeah,
So it sounds very easy to get involved with. It sounds like there's plenty of room for everybody with
there
with
is.
with what you can bring, and it seems like you want to highlight the individuality from all the contestants. And I'm sure it's super hard not only to pick a crown, but also to pick all 15 of those other awards, it can't be easy because they all
It
sound like
isn't.
amazing,
It
amazing women.
isn't. It's not easy. And there's lots of room for gentlemen to be involved as well. So don't
Exactly.
think you have to be a girl to come. We have
Exactly.
lots of guys hanging with us. So
Well, thank you very much for your time today. We certainly loved learning about everything that you're doing. It's not a small list, that's for sure.
nope, we're busy folks, just getting ready for Project Elf here for the Dame Foundation. So 700 people at Christmas time that we serve. So lots going on.
All
Okay.
right. All
I
right, Terry.
appreciate your time, and I will
Thanks
bother
so
you in the
much.
future to come
Please do.
back whenever you
Please
have
do.
time, of course. So
Please do.
awesome.
We'd love to.
And send along anything that we can help promote because we want to
Oh, yeah.
be what do they call it? Megaphones where we amplify. We want to help amplify what you're doing.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time and for having us and sharing us with everybody, because that's what we need to do.
Awesome. Nick, I'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon, brother.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
So check us out at 40belowzero.com. That's 4 letter T below 0.com. Or feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is info@40belowzero.com. Our personal Instagram account are, for Nick's, it's Nix_V713. Or for Terry, it's What's_MS. Awesome. Looking forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk soon.